Start. Hey, welcome everybody. This is another episode of Let's Develop. I'm Chris Woolley, your host for today. And we've got kind of an exciting lineup that's coming up. We've got PG here talking about print competition Pitfalls, which is going to be crazy exciting and very appropriate right now because it's competition season, if you guys haven't noticed that already. If this is your first time watching Let's Develop, welcome. This is a fun webinar series brought to you by American Color Imaging. And what we do is we basically track down some awesome photographers and we say, hey, you know what? Let's share some information with our community as a whole. And it's every 2 weeks. So every other Wednesday, we've got new live webinars coming up where you can ask questions, win prizes, all that fun stuff. You can register for them and check out the future lineup at acilab.com/let's-develop. If you happen to miss our last episode, Beyond Buzzwords, How Artificial Intelligence Helps Photographers with Aaron Hockley, who's also in the audience right now. I've heard him say hi. You can check that out live on, or the replay, excuse me, not live. Live was a couple weeks ago. Check out the replay on ACI's website there, as well as all the other episodes that we have done. There's a wealth of information there, from techniques and doing landscapes to marketing to looking at how to improve your business. So lots of valuable information there. So make sure to check it out. Couple of things, because this is a webinar format, that means that you can ask questions and we can actually PG is going to answer them live for us. So if you do have questions, put them into chat. I'll be moderating those. It's totally okay to ask questions. I'll be interrupting him if it's appropriate, and we can ask him live as he's going through so that you can get your questions answered. That's one of the huge benefits of watching live, is that we get to interact and tap into PG. So now let's actually get to know PG a little bit better. So PG is a master photographer, photographic craftsman, a CPP, a WPPI master, Adobe certified Photoshop expert, an approved IPC juror. He's won the Imaging Excellence Award. Basically, when it comes to cool stuff, PG's the guy, and he knows his stuff really super well. He's a portrait artist out of Plano, Texas, inspired by classical portraiture, paintings of old masters, and fashion, and likes to create a fun fusion between fine art and fashion. So I'm very excited about this, PG. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Chris, and thanks for all the audience that joined today in live. Like Chris was saying, I love interaction, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. And before we start, Chris, I would like to know how many enter print competition, whether it's PPA or ASP, WPPI, Portrait Masters.
So if you enter image competition, will you put it into chat so that we know if you've entered before or you're just getting started? And if you do enter, let us know. Are you doing your state? Are you doing IPC? Are you doing ASP? What are you doing? We're getting quite a few people so far that are saying IPC and local. Joanne's been doing it for 50 years. Lots of IPC, state, local PPA, IPC, districts IPC, local, many years, state and IPC, state and IPC.
Anybody did not do at all? Somebody's pretty new to...
I've got one person, Heather, that's first in state. I'm not sure if she goes on from there or if this is her first time entering state. John does his local, ASP, district, and IPC. So lots of people are entering, it looks like, and a lot of states and then moving up from there. So we've got a little bit of a hierarchy going on, it looks like.
Excellent. Okay, so the program today is about avoiding some of the common pitfalls that most of the times the jurors, judges find things in print competition entries, but this doesn't have to be necessarily print competition specific. These things can be for regular prints, regular work that we do. Also, it's easier to find certain digital artifacts, especially in the digital format. We have the new problems that come up, like banding and dust spots and things like that. Dust spots might not be a new thing. So when we are talking today, what I will try to do is take one by one and see why it occurs, and then how do we identify it, how do we pre-visualize it, and how do we fix it? Okay, so let's start with dust spots. Chris, you're able to see my computer screen, right?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Awesome. So let's take dust spots for a second. So dust spots can happen in camera, like your sensor might have a dust spot, or it can come from, a dirty background, or if we didn't wipe out the background clean, so there can be dust spots there. So let me open an image and let's see. It's coming.
We can see the wheel of death spinning.
There you go. So this is a somewhat of a high key image, and actually this was an outtake, but I loved the expression and the pose, so I just kept it. So especially on high key images, it's very hard to see whether there is a dust spot going on in the image or not. So let me just kind of like, if you drag the exposure down, we might be able to see some, but once we take it to Photoshop, and that's where we generally do all the things. So let me open this there. So once you come here, it's very hard to see like what's going on. Like even if we go zoom in a little bit, it's pretty hard to see the dust spots. And then let me open one somewhat of a low-key image just to have a variety. There you go, and open that. So in low-key images, it's pretty easy to see compared to the high-key images, especially the background, if there is anything going on in the background. But it might eventually show up, right? And let me open one mid-key image as well, just to kind of give an idea of. Okay, there you go. Okay, so these different keys, it's almost the same background, but you can see something is going on in the. Hold on, cancel out of that. There you go. We can see something is going on in the background in this image. Here it is. It's there, some of the areas is missing, and then in high key you can't see anything. So a couple of things we can do is, one, like either the image is a high key or a low key, use a curves technique just to open the curve, darken the image, and see if you can find anything that shows immediately. Okay, so that is.
So we're just talking for imperfections?
Just looking for imperfection. Just this is a temporary visualization layer to see. Okay, so do I have anything going on? And then just swing this up and down to see. Okay, so do I need anything to fix here? Okay, that is one technique that can be done. Same thing here. Just brighten it up and see. Like we can see now that there is something is going on the background. There is a line and there is a spot there. And things like that we can see. And same way, if we go down and see something happening or not. So whenever we have this, this is one of the visualization technique, is just to kind of swing it up and down and see what's going on. Swing the curve up and down. Okay. And so this is one of the techniques. And in Lightroom, we have a hidden feature where it shows the dust spots.
Ooh.
So I don't know how many are aware of this, so that I'll be curious to know that. But so we have this white background. Again, like a high key background is somewhat tricky. So, but when we go to this patch tool, the spot removal tool, okay, so we get the spot removal tool, but there is this button here. If it's not visible, let me zoom in a little bit on that, just to show you a little closer. So there is this visualize spots button there. If we click on that, then this magic happens, and we can see that it shows outline, the contrast here, but there is a control bar here. You can raise this control, and you can see, like, you can decide how much detail you want to see. As we pull it out more and more, look at that. Now we have some things going on in the background. We can see that these are there. So just because we can see from these tools doesn't mean that we have to fix everything. I used to be, when I started doing post-processing, I used to try to fix every small little thing because I can see it. and I used to spend hours and hours on these images, fixing all little bit of things. So that's not
what
what I'm
is this one
saying.
called, PG?
This is a spot healing removal tool in the develop module of Lightroom. Spot removal. I mean, just to remove the spots. Basically, this is
excellent.
To remove the spots.
And then the find the dust is in the bottom left corner.
And then the visualize spots is in the bottom left hand corner. And then there is a slider there. That slider, I pulled it all the way. It shows more areas of the problems. Okay. So, I mean, like once we go there, so let me turn it off now and let me come out of this. So if I zoom in, let me go to the history and undo the thing I fixed it. Okay, there you go. So if we go in, now we can see that there are some lines on the wall and there is a little bit of line there. Those are the things that were showing up when I was putting that spot removal tool, spot visualization tool. Okay, so yeah, I mean, within the Lightroom itself, we have a hidden tool that can show us these things. And then we have in Photoshop, depending on, especially to be careful with the high key images. By the way, this image, the final version of this image is like that. So I just didn't adjust anything there. It's just brought the raw file there. So this is one of the techniques. And the other one is the one that we'll be talking a lot about today is called solar curve. Okay? A solar curve. Whenever I say curve, people don't understand because I have a heavy Texan accent. So if you can translate that for me.
Yeah, sure. Curve, CURVE, curve.
Oh, there it goes. So a solar curve is nothing but a curve adjustment layer just dragged up and down. Okay, so what we are doing is we are splitting the tonal ranges so that we can boost the contrast quite a bit. So, I mean, this is how basically we do, but that's a really bad solar curve. But so I created an action to create this. So if you see this, so this is what the solar curve looks like. So this shows us quite a bit of contrast, but also it is showing us all the dust spots that are there on the floor now. So this is a high key, like I said, high key images are tricky because nothing is there. Once you take it out, you can't see anything. And we put it on, now we can see all these shoe marks and every little thing on the floor is shown. Do we need to fix everything? Not necessarily, but good to know that it's there. And as an artist, we make a decision whether it needs fixing or is it okay to leave it there. Okay.
I got a question from Michael. Do you always use the mask part? A mask on the curves?
No, I mean, for this specific thing, we don't have to. I mean, mask doesn't do anything. Any adjustment layer, when we go and create, it automatically comes with a mask. So that's why it is there. For this technique, for what we are doing, mask is of no significance here.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so and same thing here, like when we go and let me delete this and solar curve. And we see quite a few things that were, so like I said, in the mid key images and low key images, we can see stuff most of the time. So it's not showing anything surprising, but we can see them very clearly. For example, when we are seeing this, we can, so now I'm talking about the fixing part. How do we fix this, right? First thing is have a clean background. Clean your sensor. That's the step number one in fixing the problem. Fixing the problem is not creating the problem in the first place. But of course, things are not in our control all the time. If that happens, it's a matter of just creating a blank layer in between. So the solar curve can stay there and use a healing brush tool or a tool of your choice and to clean up. And let me take a healing brush. So when I'm taking the healing brush, basically I'm saying that sample from current and below layers.
Can you zoom up on that one?
Yeah. I'm going there. There you go. So sample from current and below. So I'm creating a blank layer so that I'm not wasting any pixels by taking a full pixel layer. But I'm saying that, don't sample from just this layer because this layer doesn't have anything. Sample from current layer and the below layer. and don't touch anything from the above layer. Above is solar curve, right? So we have the pixels in the bottom, solar curve on the top, and our fixed layer is in the middle, right? Okay, so let me come out of this. So let me call this fixed layer. I'm not going to do a full job, but I just wanted to show that, so we can take from here and say, what, just let me address this. So I'm taking care of this while the solar curve is on. And once I turn it off, now it's there. It's barely, I can see barely that what's going on there, but there is a line which the judges can see, right? So it's fixed. So even though we are seeing these ugly things, but the blemish layer, the healing brush is only seeing what is there on the current layer and the layer below. Okay, hope that makes sense. So solar curve is one of the techniques which we'll be using across a lot. Okay, and
seems like a really useful adjustment layer.
It is a very useful, yes. It's a must. It's like anybody competing must have. This is a must-have tool, in my opinion, to do this. And let me open a couple more images. And also, not only the dust spot. So for example, this is one of the images that were entered in the past. One of the friend contributed this image. And so when we submit images, when we put a solar curve, see that there is a little boo-boo there, a cloning or a healing patch or something is going on there. And we cannot see with the naked eye, but depending on the computer brightness, sometimes the judges can see. Like if we put a curve and might be brighten it, it's there. So sometimes the jurors are so trained and they can spot these kind of things very easily. And solar curve helps in this kind of situation as well. Or we can use the regular curve technique, also shows it. If we brighten it quite enough, we can see that there is an issue going on there. Okay, so just that, and then let me show you one more. This is actually again, so this beautiful image and everything looks very clean and neat. But once we put the magic glass on, we see that there is a lot of things going on here in the sky. It seems so clean, but you had to get really close to see that there is some kind of patchiness going on in the sky, which could be visible or might not be visible. And again, like I was saying, it depends on whether we want to take care of it or not. But this visualization tool helps you see what's going on in the image. Okay, and by the way, so this person used his friend again. So a lot of friends contributed images so that everybody can get educated. So I really want to thank them for giving their images to show, and help everybody learn. So this is the cleaned up image. Once it's cleaned up, this is the cleaned up image. Solar curve. No, the other one is there you go. This is the cleaned up image. So, there you go. Once cleaned up, everything is
huge
nice.
Difference.
Yep. So these are the kind of risks that will happen if we don't observe the images. Put some of these visualization layers on the top. Cool. Any questions on dust spots?
If you have a question for PG about dust spots or solar layers, put them into chat now.
And I'm wondering if how many learned about the Lightroom visualize spots technique.
Yeah, who knew about the visualized spots in Lightroom? If you do, put that into chat as well.
Cool. Okay.
So far, Tim and Kimberly already used that one.
Nice,
John
awesome.
didn't know about it. Alan knew about it. Mitzi did. Steve uses it all the time. Celia's never heard about it. Connie's knew about it but hasn't used it in a while. Kathy says you kept that a secret. Michael uses the camera raw. Carolyn, can you heal the spot in the solar curve? Has a question on that one.
Solar curve is only visualization. It's only to show what is there. And I was doing like I did a separate layer below to fix things. So solar curve doesn't fix anything. It just shows that there is a problem or not.
Yep. So just make sure that you're on the current and below layer when you're doing it, not on the solarization layer.
That's correct. That's correct. It's like a MRI basically.
Yeah. So it looks like most people knew about the visualized spots, but a few people didn't.
Nice. Okay, cool. It's not as big of a secret as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about banding. Banding is something that occurs mainly because if we do not have enough bit depth in the image, like if we edit images in 8-bit or versus 16-bit, so the banding can occur, and banding also can occur when we have a different tonal ranges in the image and changing quite fast. For example, let me go here. For example, if we have a beautiful sky like this, it's coming up. So we have like yellow tones, orange tones, all this changing pretty quickly in the sky, and then we have blues. And I mean, the image itself will not have any problem, but if we push certain color quite a bit, then we might introduce this digital artifacts because we are breaking up so for example, here if we go, and we have, yellow and orange, and if we push only yellow or saturation high, let me try to do that real quick and just to show you. So I just introduced a hue saturation layer. I'm going to yellow and just pushing only yellow. So by pushing the yellow, I'm breaking these edges, but there is a smooth transition in nature, in the camera, what captured. But now I'm pushing only one color. And so that the transition from one color to other color, I'm not smoothing it out. So this is one of the reasons that banding can occur. And another reason can be like, let me take an image. Other one can be when we introduce bigger brush strokes. Let's say I want to darken this edge. Like let me create a blank layer and just, actually let me create a curve and darken this quite a bit. And take a brush, might be, and make it bigger. So when we use big brush strokes, and then just let's say I want to add a vignetting. So I'm just taking out the darkness from the subject. Okay. So when I'm doing this, I'm introducing quite a bit of banding in the scene. Like if we go closer, see that the transition from one tone to other tone is abrupt. It's jumping from one tonal value to other tonal value. So it can come from pushing the colors. So basically the technique to use here, if we have to bump the saturation of yellow, for example, first of all, we need to be very subtle about it. We can't do that. I was just doing exaggeration. But even if we do this much, so see that like here, like between the yellow and the orange, if you see that there is a line that going on, but let's say I push it here, but then I need to push my oranges and reds and everything also together. So I'm taking the entire range slowly up instead of breaking only the yellows or reds. Everything that is in the vicinity, I need to take it up, saturate them more or darken them. Whatever we are doing, we take the whole thing up and down along together. Okay, so that way we are not increasing that jump from one color to other color abruptly. Okay, and again, this also comes from the same kind of using a bigger brushes generally creates this. Or like if you do, for example, let me create one curve, just darken. And let us say we do something like elliptical marquee tool with a huge feathering, and we do something like that. I'm just filling that black, the elliptical marquee tool like that. So again, same problem occurs here. This is how it gets created. Drastic transition from tone or a color or not having enough bit depth. So let's talk about the bit depth a little bit. So let me open this image again.
We do have a question from Alan wanting to know if the DPI of the image will make a difference with the banding.
DPI. DPI is dots per inch, which is used for printing. So that's not relevant here. The relevant information is the bit depth. DPI or PPI doesn't matter really. The DPI and PPI is resolution of the image matters. Resolution of the image meaning like, it's a 5,000 pixels by 6,000 pixels. That matters. Like if we have an image which has 5,000 pixels by 6,000 pixels versus we have an image which has 500 pixels by 600 pixels, obviously the bigger image has, and we are covering the same area of the image. Like for the person we are seeing, if you are covering the same area, obviously that image has more information. It can hold more information than a 500 by 600 pixel image. So the resolution matters. PPI and DPI is only for printing, not relevant to the banding and other things.
Thank you.
Okay? And so when we go to the bit depth, so I'm opening the same image one more time. So here I edit all my images in 16-bit.
Can you zoom up on that?
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for reminding me. There you go. So here we have, even in Lightroom, we can do that. And here also, so if we click here, it opens this up and then there is the 16-bit per channel depth. And then I use Color Space Pro Photo RGB, but Adobe RGB is also fine. sRGB is a good output format, but I prefer to be either in Adobe or Pro Photo RGB. So this color space holds more colors. That's all that is. But this is where we have a 16-bit channel can, a 16-bit, when we have an image in 16-bit, it can hold up to, an 8-bit image can hold up to 256 tonal values in a per channel. So we have the RGB, red, green, and blue channels. And 16-bit can hold, 8-bit can hold 256 tonal values in each channel. So that results in, 256 times 256 times 256. It results in 16.7 million colors in 8-bit. When we go to 16-bit, per channel, it can hold 65,536 tonal values. By the way, I didn't by heart these. I'm just looking at my notes and talk.
I was like, wow, that's impressive.
That gives us, that is per channel, 65,000 tonal values per channel. So that is like 281 trillion colors. Okay. So anyway, so let me open this in 16-bit. Okay. So let me just take it and open. And let me open the same image in 8-bit. Okay. So I'm going there again. This time I'm going to click on that line there, and I'm just going to change this to 8 bits. Okay. And I should click open. There you go. So if you see these images together, and let me now create a curve or something that kind of destroys this thing, right? So let me take a brush, a black brush, and just create. Okay. I'm just doing this, and just to keep everything same, I'm just dragging the same curve to other image so that we don't have any confusion on what's going on. Oops. When we drag this, we are supposed to hold a shift key so that it places properly. Let's do that. And there you go. Okay. So these two images kind of look the same now because there seem to be some banding on both, right? But this is a little confusing. When we are editing, Photoshop shows things in a different way, but so this is the perceived banding and the real banding. There are two different things here. So here, this is a perceived banding. So if you want to really see like what's going on, we need to just kind of duplicate the image and flatten the image. Okay, so I'm going to image, duplicate image, and say duplicate merged layers only. Okay, so this is a 16-bit image. Probably I should have named this. Let me redo that again. Image, duplicate. Let's call this 16. And merge layers only. Okay, and then do the same thing for the 8-bit. Duplicate, merge, and let's call this 8. Okay, so now if we compare the 16-bit image to an 8, I'm closing this other thing. Now if we compare the 16-bit image, the transitions are pretty smooth, whereas here we go, there is quite a bit of banding going on. So let's bring our magic glass, solar curve, and see this this is the 8-bit image, and this is the 16-bit image. See how smooth the transition is in 16-bit versus the 8-bit. So if anybody has any...
Oh, got one quick note for everybody that's watching. You may be seeing a slightly compressed video because this is online streaming. So the video compression may be adding in some additional compression or banding between them. So if you're not seeing exactly what he's saying, it might just be the platform we're on.
All right. Yeah, just trust me, okay?
Yeah. He has all those numbers memorized. He knows what he's talking about.
So yeah, so in a 16-bit, like in a 8-bit, especially like when we use these bigger brushes or transitions, the transitions get really choppy, and in a 16-bit image, this gets pretty smooth. So I mean, if anybody has any doubt in why they should use, I hope this will convince them if they're able to see what I was talking about.
So do you always work in 16-bit then?
Yes. So the Photoshop file is always in 16-bit and ProPhoto RGB, and ProPhoto RGB is not 100% necessary. Even Adobe RGB is fine, but 16-bit is a must. So once I'm done with all the changes, then I flatten the image, flatten a different version of the image, and that image goes to 8-bit and then goes to printing. But if I'm printing in-house, then I'm printing from my Photoshop file, which is in 16-bit and RGB.
So can you confirm that your 16-bit file, then you're going to save that as an 8-bit file after you've done all your editing, and then you print that?
My 16-bit file, the edited file with the layers remains 16-bit. Only a different version will be created for 8-bit for printing.
Thank you.
So
can you show us how to convert a 16-bit file to an 8-bit file?
Sure. Okay, so opening one more image. So let me put this back to 16. And it's a very complicated process. So we go to, let me bring the... So this is what I do. So let's say I have all my edits done. So then I duplicate the image. Always I duplicate the image because I burned my fingers multiple times. So now I have a practice of just duplicate the image. And then because there are no layers, it's not showing this duplicate merge layers only. Otherwise, I generally click that button to duplicate merge layers only because this is going to print. We don't need layers there. And once that is done, I go to image, and then mode, and we go here, and then, oops, 1 second.
Yeah, we're behind the magnifier.
I know. So image, mode, and then once we come down, here it says 16-bit and 8-bit, and I just click on 8-bit. And then that's it. So,
thank you.
So just basically like if it was confusing by any chance, it's just image, mode, 8 bits. Once we go to 8 bits, the information is chopped off. Okay, so once it's converted, there is no point in converting it back to 16 because we already downgraded and all the information that was there is lost. So the other way never works. We can go from 16 to 8, but we cannot go from 8 to 16.
Makes sense.
So That's that. And I mean, like, so the solar curve basically, like, again, so same, there were some banding issues were going on. We saw a similar image, which has this choppy things going on. So, I mean, if you see the raw file, let me open a raw file that is not exactly the same capture, but a different capture. So raw file is pretty neat. I mean, raw file doesn't have that gradation. So, like I was saying, when we use bigger brushes and bigger vignetting and things like that, that is when this choppiness can come. Also, yeah.
Oh, got a couple of questions. One from Carolyn. If you save it as a JPEG, does it automatically change it to 8-bit?
No,
No,
it
so you can
doesn't.
still have 16-bit JPEGs?
Right. It can. I mean, yes, you can have 16-bit JPEG. Like if you go here and just says file save as, and if you just say JPEG, it just saves as JPEG. So it only thing is it won't give you any preview or the size. So it is a 16-bit JPEG.
Okay.
So when I don't see an approximate size that is being given, then I know that it is in 16-bit. And on the top here, it shows that it's a 16-bit file. It's the RGB 16. It says that it's a 16-bit. For example, this is an 8-bit file. So that information is there on the top. And also we can save a 16-bit JPEG, but I don't think any labs can accept a 16-bit JPEG. So before converting, I always do this, and I'm not going to save this file.
Yeah.
But
another question from Mark. So you export from Lightroom in 16-bit ProPhoto RGB. Is that correct?
That is correct. So in Lightroom, we can go to Preferences and External Editing. And here is my settings for that. So let me zoom in. There you go. So that is under External Editing. I have this set to file format as PSD, ProPhoto RGB 16-bit, and resolution 300.
Okay.
So that's
question from John now. How do you resolve banding in an image? If you do have banding present, anything you can do about it?
So, yes. So I was going to get this. So we talked about like why banding happens and how it can be introduced, right? So the point is, we have to be careful when we have some images like where we have total tonal transition, right? We have to be careful on how we are bringing it. So it starts from the post-processing steps. Banding is not, generally it's not there in capture itself. But so using 16-bit editing is one. When we are pushing the tones, be careful to push all the tones together. Okay, so if I'm pushing this yellow, push this magenta, push this cyan, everything together slowly up. So especially if they are adjacent to each other. Okay, and now let's talk about doing it in how to take it away. So let's bring this person again. So one thing we can do is, so let's say I want to add some vignetting. Again, I'm doing the same thing. So I'm just going and darkening the whole thing, and I take a curve, I brush, and just I'm painting this black. So we are getting this banding, right? So we are getting all the tonal ranges. So let me take that out. We can add some noise to our brush. So for banding, noise is the remedy. Okay. So under brush settings, we can add some noise to the brush. That makes the brush very noisy, but it makes it also a smoother brush. So if I do the same thing now, paint black, okay, it's comparatively better. Okay, it's coming. It's comparatively better. Okay, let me actually do without noise and with noise. Let me add another. Okay, let me make a duplicate of this curve. Okay, so let's call this no noise. Okay, so on this one, let me do the brush strokes without noise. Go to the brush settings. I'm removing the noise here. And black. Just it's okay. There you go. So compare this with that, it's relatively smoother. It's completely not gone, but it is relatively smoother. Okay. That is one thing we can do, is adding noise to the brush. So the second thing that can be done is, once we have this, right, we did this, add some noise to whatever the brush stroke. It can be on the image, it can be on the mask, wherever it is. We can add some noise to that. So go to filter, noise, add noise. Okay. And let's say 12% is good and Gaussian is good. So if you see now, it's gone. So this was before, there was quite a bit of banding going on. And once we add the noise, the banding is gone.
So just a heads up again, you may be seeing some banding from the compression of the video. So it's a little bit misleading with what we're seeing that he's on there, but I can see a clean video feed and it's working.
Yep.
The joys of compression, huh?
Enjoy the compression, yes. Yeah, so your video might be choppy, but yeah. So when you have this, I mean, the best thing is to try this on your own. That's the best way to do it. Create a curve and then add some black in the middle, and then just use a biggest brush. Like I'm going to the maximum size of 5000 pixel brush, right? So this is the biggest size brush, and see with just see what's going on there. If you cannot see it by any chance, you can also put a solar curve on the top, and you should be able to see the banding now. And now once we add noise to it, the banding is gone.
That makes it very, very evident.
Right. So it's very clear that it just takes care of that. So anytime we are doing these, especially on the vignetting and things like that, this will definitely help. And we can see, for example, I have another image here that is so there we don't see anything much here, but if we go a little closer, there is quite a bit of banding happening here, a very small amount, because probably there was a big brushstroke used to give this light, the effect of glow. And when we do that, we see quite a bit of banding going on. I mean, it is hard to fix after this is done, after it's introduced. But while these brushstrokes were done, if the noise was added to those brushstrokes, it would have solved the problem to most part. But let me try. I mean, I don't know if it works, but it will make it a lightly better. So I am adding just noise to the image, and let me put the solar curve now. I know it looks very noisy, but see the choppiness here versus here. Even we can reduce some of the noise to make it a little prettier.
Is there a certain amount of noise that you add, or do you just use the auto?
It's not auto. I mean, the noise, it depends on the resolution of the image and the size of the brush strokes and all that. So basically, we are breaking up these transitions into, dispersing them so that it's distributed evenly somewhat. That's what noise is doing.
So play around and use whatever setting looks good.
Yes. So yes, it's completely a visual thing. What I did basically is I created a blank layer filled with 50% gray. Okay. And put that into soft light mode. A blank layer filled with 50% gray and put it in soft light mode. So basically it should not do anything to the image. And then add filter, noise, add noise. And now here just play around and see, like, okay, so is it good at 3? Is it good at 4? Is it better at 5? So it's a balance between, like, we are battling two evils here. So this is bad. This is a bad evil. This is also an evil because it's introducing banding. So we have to find the balance between these two evils and see where we land in a good place. Okay, so might be somewhere there. Seems like a decent place. But I mean, like, the main thing is don't introduce it first. I mean, that is the main thing. If you don't introduce it along the way, if you are watchful about it, I think that will help quite a bit. But once it's introduced, we can salvage to some extent, but not 100%. Okay, so the main thing is to be conscious about, like when we talked about the other image, the sky image, right? Be conscious about not pushing the values too far. And when we are bringing the images, bring them in 16-bit. And make sure when you are using any kind of bigger brush strokes, have some noise added to those brush strokes so that they're not choppy. So these are all the things while we are building these images up. If we can be conscious about it, I think we don't have to fix banding. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we are at 45 minutes. Anybody have any questions? And what is the most you learned so far, and what anything we need to change, or any specific topics anybody's curious about?
Yeah, if there's something that you want to know and ask PG about getting your images ready, now is the time to do that. Put it into chat here, and we'll tap into PG's brain here. Would the process to fix moire in fabrics be, or what is the process?
Moire is a very, very tricky thing. Okay, one of the things we can do is there is a slider. I think it's under noise somewhere. Moire is basically like when we have a very uniform clothing, especially silks and anything shiny, we can get some moire. I try to.
It's in one of those menus.
Yeah, it's one of those menus. It's been a while I used that, so I thought it was here. Yeah. It is there under the adjustment brushes, by the way. It's here under the adjustment brushes. It's definitely there somewhere here. There you go. So this fixes pretty nicely. I mean, I don't have an example image for that, but that should fix it very nicely.
Question from Connie. Can you show how to create the solar curve? She said that you think you had an action for that.
Yes. How about we need to pray to the sun god every day? How about this? How about we send a solar curve to everybody? No competitor left behind.
There we go. Okay. So you'll have it, actually just now getting it from you. I'll paste it into chat, and I'll also paste the link into the follow-up email that's coming out to everybody so that you can just download it.
So Connie, if you still want to learn how to do that, I can show, but it's like I said, it's a matter of pulling the curve. So this is what I'll just briefly explain the process. So this is what I generally do. So a curve has an input and output value. So I can basically say, put a point there and say, a 30 should be. So this is when we go there, it's a 256. So we'll just say 256 or 255. There you go, 255. There you go. And then I take one more and say, okay, now take a 60. Oops, let me put one more point there and take a 60. And say that's a 0. So I'm just pulling that point down. Put one more point. Now take a 90 and 255 and take 120. So I am not pulling the curve. I'm not that precise, but I can do this. So just put another point and just change this value. Whatever this was 150, I guess. So this will be 180 and 255.
Your action sounds way easier. Just hit a button and it does it for you.
I know. This is like boom. There you go. That's done. So yeah. So that's what I did to create this basically. So these are the values. Like I don't know what I did. Like 23 and then 49. So I split up this 255 values into 1/10 or something, and then just did that. Okay. So another thing is skin discolorations. Real quick, I will just talk about it real quick. So if you see this image, we have some discoloration or appearance of discoloration happening in the shadow area here. Okay. So one of the observations for me is, I don't know if it is 100% true or not, but my observation is that when we have the color in the midtones is the most color in Photoshop. The highlights and shadows have less color information. Let me show what I'm talking about. So let us say I take I'm taking a blank layer. Let's put that in a color blend mode, and then so color blend mode is only affecting the color, nothing else, right? Okay, so I'm taking a color from, let me make it smaller. Where is my brush? Okay, there you go. My brush was way too big. Okay, so I'm taking color, sampling color from here. So I pick the skin color. So from the mid-tone, if I put the same color in the highlight area, okay, it's kind of making it go whatever. But if I go to the shadow areas, I'm putting the same amount of color. Whatever is the color there, I'm putting it the same color in the shadow area. It appears to be too colorful, but it's the same color. According to Photoshop, it's all the same color. But the shadow areas seem to be too colorful, and highlight areas are supposed to be less colorful. The midtones are okay, having that same amount of color, they look good, but the shadow areas look too much color. So having said that, so when we are brightening a shadow, when we have a shadow area and I'm brightening it, we have to understand that I'm bringing my shadow to a midtone. I'm bringing my shadow to midtone. So what will happen to the color? It will appear to be muddy because I'm brightening my shadow and making, so shadow has less color information to start with. And when I brighten it, it becomes muddy. It appears to be muddy because the eye is expecting that, okay, this is a midtone, this need to have more color. And it doesn't. So we need to add some color. When we are brightening a shadow area, we need to add a little bit color to it to make it appear equivalent to other midtone areas in the image. And the same way, when we are darkening something, when we are darkening some areas, we need to take some color out because that is a midtone. Now it has a lot of color and I'm making it a darker area, which the eye is not expecting to have too much color there. So when you're darkening it, you have to just kind of tone the color down a little bit so that it doesn't appear to be, a color shift happening. So this is one kind of color problem that generally in the post we introduce these color shifts most of the time. And also there can be, other is a white balance issue. Like for example, if we have something like this. Okay, so this I did a lot of things here. So let me go as short. So as short, this image was like this. So we have some warm light hitting the subject, and we have other blue tones going on in the image. So one thing for this kind of a situation is to use something like this. This is a godsend. This is everybody should have this. A color checker passport which translates the colors. This is not only a white balance tool, it also translates colors. It takes all these colors and the software knows that, okay, so this pink is supposed to look like this. If it is not, if the camera is not capturing it as that pink, the software will shift it. So it's not only just a white balance. White balance is global. White balance is across the image. We have a problem. But this shifts individual colors individually. Like, let me take another example. Let me take, might be the same person real quick. Okay, for example, if I go here, and this is what Adobe is interpreting this raw file as. Okay, with the color checker passport, I created a custom color, and that custom color was that, and see how much difference in the skin tone is. Let me take that other one. Actually, let me take that this color here. So this is what Adobe, the color profile Adobe is picking. So let me go to the profiles I created for this. Okay. As you can see, I create quite a few of them. Okay, there you go. That one. So see the difference between so see the difference of colors. This is what Adobe says. That's the color. So look at this blue, for example. This is what Adobe translates it to, and that's what Color Checker Passport is translating it to. See all the colors, like see the pink, see this skin tones, how they are. So everything is shifting in color, and so this is a must for house to get beautiful skin tones and color shifts and all that. And also this has some patches that will, by the way, he's holding upside down. So this also has the white balance. Once I fix the color, then I fix the white balance. White balance is global. Like we have a warm tone across or a blue tone across the image. So that is white balance. But this is color, creating a color profile is translating each and every color into, where it should land. Okay.
That was awesome. We're just about out of time on here, and I've got some prizes and stuff to give away too.
Awesome.
So I'm going to come back so that we can actually see us here. So thank you so very much, PG. Like, that was a ton of information. I think you've converted a whole bunch of people to using 16-bit and getting a color checker and actually using it. Seems like a no-brainer way to making sure that you're getting really, really precise colors and beautiful images coming through. So for those of you that don't know, PG is very, very generous when it comes to sharing information like our solar curve today, but he also does quite a few workshops. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, next month he's coming up to Washington, Spokane, in fact, my hometown, and he's going to be putting on a fun program for the professional photographers of Washington. So definitely put that on your radar. And I heard a rumor you're doing something at Texas School. You want to tell us about that, PG?
Yes, at Texas School, I'm doing a program where it's a capture, enhance, and print. So we take the images and we'll post-process them, and also like all the things that go into the printing. And some of these also will help with the printing, but there is a lot more to it. So we'll be covering the entire program at Texas School. It's a pre-con class on April 23rd. So I hope to see some of the friends there.
You got a lot going on next month then.
Yes.
So I do want to give a shout out again to American Color Imaging for helping put on this program. And they do have a special for everybody, big print discounts. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that it includes and a couple of things that it excludes on there. That'll be in the follow-up email. But the important thing, get 25% off on big prints. Be sure to write down that code, and you've gotten about a month to redeem that. That'll also be following up as well. We do also have Sherry Hammond coming up as our next guest on the 30th about selling portrait paintings. So if you're looking to add that to your lineup, Sherry is brilliant. I've been lucky enough to see this program in real life. I think you're definitely going to want to tune in and get some awesome information on that. Okay, so now we've got some prizes. Everybody loves prizes. So first up, we have got a $50 lab credit to ACI, American Color Imaging. Let's see who that winner is. Going to come up and spin the wheel. I love the wheel. It's going to spin, spin, spin. Keeps track of everything. And that is Terry. Congratulations, Terry. Let's get that written down. And awesome. Let's go up to our next prize then. And this one is a $75 lab credit. Let's see who that winner is. Jeff Wallace. Congratulations. Just jotting that down so we can make sure that we get that added to your lab credit. And now our grand prize, we have a $100 lab credit to American Color Imaging. And the winner of that one is The wheel goes. Jovi. Congratulations on that. All right, everybody, we are officially ending the program. I do want to remind you that if you have an idea for a future episode, a guest that you'd love to see, anything like that, reach out to me. That's how we put these on, is your suggestions, what you want to learn and what you want to know more about. You can email me or hit reply if you've already been registering. So make sure that we're communicating there. All right, PG, that was a ton of information, and I think you've got everybody really, really excited about this upcoming print competition scene. Any parting words for us?
No, I mean, I don't know if everybody knows the link. The districts are already open, and I hope to see,
I will post the links for IPC as well as your Texas school class in the chat, so anybody that's interested in that can keep up with you. It's also going to be in the follow-up email that goes out, so you can keep up with what PG's got going on. Awesome. All right, everybody. That's officially a wrap for this one. Thanks again, PG, and thank you so much, everybody that's joined us and was learning more about the print competition pitfalls. We'll see you next time.